UNESCO insists that being placed on its list of endangered sites isn't a black mark, but some of those facing the prospect of being added to the list are fiercely opposed to their possible inclusion, among them Venice, Stonehenge, and Australia's Great Barrier Reef. The battle is set to play out in New Delhi, where UNESCO diplomats are meeting from this Sunday. Well, to discuss, we're joined now by Maria Gravari-Barbas, Chair of the UNESCO Culture, Tourism and Development Research Programme at the Sorbonne University here in Paris. Thank you so much for being with us on the programme. Firstly, just tell us who is currently on this UNESCO list of endangered sites and why do cities like Venice not want to be included?
The endangered list includes today 56 sites, which are mostly in the big south, we would say. 20 out of these 56 sites are located in Africa, and 16 are located in the Middle and Near East. Few sites are in the endangered list are located in Europe, and in fact, the European and Western, more generally, states react against the inscription on the list, which, as you said, is not a black mark. On the opposite, I mean, it's not a disgrace for a state, is not a punishment for the state party. It is, in fact, a way to attract the attention of the international community to the endangered site. However, for Western sites, it is considered as if the state party did not give the necessary attention to the site. And the opposite of some sites in the south, which are facing major wars, geopolitical conflicts. In most cases in Europe, the endangered list includes sites where the state parties did not take the necessary measures in order to protect them. And this is typically the case of Venice, because Venice was threatened last year in July 2023 from the inscription on the endangered list. Finally, this was avoided because at the very last moment, I mean, during the discussions with the UNESCO, the Italian state decided, and the city of Venice, they decided to, in fact, introduce on a kind of trial basis a tax of 5 euros, which is nothing. In fact, it's a very, how can I say, symbolic, in fact, a measure. So starting from 2024 and onwards. This is supposed, in fact, to concern only day trippers in order to discourage people who comes to Venice only for 1 day. But we can understand why Italy does not want Venice on the UNESCO list, because we know that during the last years, Italy and the city of Venice clearly did not take the necessary measures to fight against over-tourism or against the acqua alta, this problem Venice faces till decades. And this is also the case for Stonehenge that you mentioned before, because in Stonehenge also is the state party that envisages to create a road tunnel located only 220 meters from the property, from Stonehenge, 220 meters. And of course, all the experts, they understand that this is really problematic for the protection of the site. They consider that 500,000 of archaeological, in fact, remains can be destroyed by this tunnel that UK wants to build in order, in fact, to organize the landscape around Stonehenge, because for the moment, in fact, the road is visible from the side, and also in order to fluidify the access. And this is also the case for the coral barrier that also you mentioned before, because Australia did not take the necessary measures. The coral barrier was threatened from the inscription on the endangered list several years ago, and in 2021 this was really discussed on the committee. Finally, it was avoided because Australia decided to take these measures, which are, for example, to create no fishing zones, to completely ban the gill netting starting from 2027, or also to achieve very ambitious water quality targets by 2025, 2026. And we can see that all these measures are political, so they need, in fact, from the side of the state party to negotiate this with all these people who have interest from fishing, for example. So they have a political, in fact, impact, and also a very huge economic impact. So this is why, in fact, some of the states are really reluctant in order to inscribe their sites. And we have only few exceptions of state parties who ask themselves for their properties to be listed on the endangered list, with, as a major example, Everglades, which is located in the southern tip of Florida, which was listed from 1993 to 2007, and then again, on demand of the United States, listed again on the endangered list in 2010. Because in this case, the state party recognizes that cannot solve the problem by itself, and that the help of the international community is necessary.
And Maria, are there any sites that are likely to move in the opposite direction this year and get themselves off the endangered list?
Well, yeah, some sites are. I mean, the idea of the endangered list is not to stay there forever. The idea is to stay as less time as possible. And some sites, they manage to get off the endangered list quite quickly. This, of course, needs a real project. Needs also that sometimes real problems such as wars are solved, and this obviously does not depend only on the state party. So sometimes it's much more complex than measures which are mainly economic and political, as I mentioned before. But the idea, yes, and we do have success stories, is that a site gets off the endangered list as soon as all these threats are in a way solved.
And Maria, separately, UNESCO is set to consider 25 new candidates for inclusion on its prestigious World Heritage list, including the Marquesas Islands in French Polynesia. Why does it take some places so long to get onto this list, and what benefits do they reap when they do get onto it?
Well, it takes long because it's a really long process. It's a long process because this means that you need to bring together all the stakeholders. You need also to bring in this project the local communities, and this is important. This now becomes crucial. I mean, it's not anymore a top-down process. It is supposed to be a bottom-up process that comes from the community itself. And it's very interesting because for the Marquess, the president of French Polynesia, said that he's really delighted about the fact that the Marquesas, in fact, project is really a project that comes from the Marquesian community. And this is really, really important, symbolically important. So yes, it takes a lot of time because some properties are very complex. And this is typically the case of the Marquesas because, in fact, are a mixed site. This means that they will be listed with both cultural and natural criteria. So 2 cultural and 3 natural criteria, which makes a kind of exceptional site, and that's a politically very important site because the idea is also to symbolize this rebirth of the Marquesan population in the 20th century after decades of how can I say, of endangered situation, because we know that in the time of contact with Europeans at the end of starting from the end of the 18th century, the population of the Marquesas diminished, enormously. They were in the end of the 18th century between 50,000 and 80,000 people, and they were in the beginning of the 20th century only 2,000. So this is also a very symbolic rebirth, which is extremely important, in fact, for the local populations.
Maria, we'll have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much for your time on the programme. That is Maria Gravari-Barbas, Chair of the UNESCO Culture, Tourism and Development Research Programme at the Sorbonne University here in Paris.